Hello everyone. I know that I said the next video was going to be a tour of the back rooftop deck garden, but I've changed my mind because somebody asked about the maintenance tasks that I do, so I figured I would break up the tour videos, and since the last video was the tour of this deck, you should be more familiar as I go around and do some of the tasks. Now, I pretend to be organized with maintenance, but usually most of the time it is just me coming outside and finding something that I have to do. And then oftentimes I will get distracted by other things, and then I'm out here much longer than I intended to be. But I do know that off the top of my head, I need to add supports to the Tiny Tim tomatoes. I want to remove some of the poppies. I need to tie the dahlia branch to the support. And then I'm just going to see if there's anything else that's broken or potentially anything else that I need to harvest. So I would say I'm out in the garden every day. In the morning, I'll come out, I'll do a few things, but in terms of getting out here and really setting a time to focus in the garden, it maybe happens twice a week, once a week, totally weather dependent as well. But luckily today is a much cooler day than it has been. The weather app does say it's not supposed to rain, but the weather app has lied to me many a time. So if it rains, we'll have to pop inside, but hopefully I can get done everything that I intend to do today. So here is what I bring out anytime I'm going to do some sort of garden maintenance. I have pruners, I have twine and scissors. If you had told me how much twine I would use in the garden, I never would have believed you, but this is basically holding all of my garden together. So definitely get some twine. Gloves, which I definitely need to wear because I'm allergic to something on this deck. I don't know what, because I never just touch one plant and come inside, but at least 3 times now I've had bumps coming up my arm. They itch slightly, nothing terrible. And then as soon as I shower and I put some lotion on it, it does go away by the next day. But I don't know if I think it's the pumpkin plant, just because I feel like that's what I've been working around the most. But I don't know if I should rub my arm on the pumpkin plant and see if something happens, or just try to protect my skin. So we'll see if I ever want to figure out specifically what it is, but that's why I'm doing the gloves. I have a jar of water because I will probably find some flowers that I want to harvest. I have a basket for anything that I might want to carry inside. And lastly, I have zinnia seeds. I have the Aurora zinnia, I have Queenie red lime, Queenie lemon peach, Queenie lime orange, and Queen Lime with Blush, because in the last video, someone mentioned there might be different growth habits between direct sown seeds and seeds you transplant, or at least depending on the amount of stress that happens during transplanting. I've also heard that direct sown seeds are less likely to get powdery mildew. So I don't know, but it just made me want to test. One of the things I love about gardening is experimenting. So I'm going to direct sow some seeds. Where out here, I don't know. Wherever I guess I see some sort of open space for plants. And is that everything I have out here? I think that is everything. I also just wanted to quickly mention, so these are all of the Queen Lime zinnias in these 2 bottles. These made it through a downpour. Zinnias, one, they last quite a while after you harvest them, but they also are just so durable. So I've had these outside, I don't bring them in when it rains, and they still look really good. And it's been at least 4 or 5 days since I had them in the jars. So let's go ahead, we'll start with the tasks I know I have to do and see what other tasks we get distracted by along the way. First up is this dahlia. I do have probably the largest support cage I've used on a dahlia on it right now, which is great at keeping it upright, especially as it gets the flower heads, which can be a bit heavy on the stems. But I did notice that this stem is growing outside of this cage, and I want to make sure it has some sort of support so that if there's a windy day or it does get a lot of rain, it doesn't snap off of the plant. So I'm going to take some twine, and I don't wear gloves for this because I don't know why. I can't tie a knot with gloves on. I don't know what that problem is, if it's a universal problem or just me, but in order to actually use my fingers this way, I need to have my actual hands and not covered with gloves. So all I'm doing is I'm going to take this branch, I'm going to wrap the twine around it. I usually try to do it somewhere in the middle. I don't want to do it at the very top where the stem is thinner right now. And then this is the side of the cage. So I'm just going to, I don't know if you can see that, do that to the side. I'm just going to kind of pull it as tight as I want it and then tie it in a knot. And then that at least gives it some support. So again, if it is windy or we get some heavy rain, it will have a better chance of staying upright. You know what, while we're here, I'm just gonna do a quick turnover of some of the leaves. I don't notice any potential issues just looking at it, but it is always nice if there is some sort of pest issue, I catch it before the plant looks like it's dying. I think that's one aphid, but one isn't a big deal. All right, so far these all look good. I really hope that I don't find an issue, because that's definitely happened when I come out to do something else and then there's an issue that takes like 20 minutes for me to do first. But no, I think we are looking good here. I'm just gonna work my way around the garden now, and I noticed that there is a hole in this area of zinnias. I'm thinking some branches might be broken. Again, we have had some strong winds, we've had some heavy rain, and that's why I have that pole in there with twine to use as supports on some of these zinnias. I'm also going to pull out some of the thinner stemmed zinnias. I actually used to hate and pretty much avoid cutting any stems off of my plants, because I was like, well, if I cut the stem off the zinnia, then I'm just wasting flowers that could potentially grow on that stem. But I have learned over the years that sometimes it is better to do a little bit of pruning so that your plant stays upright and you get some more airflow. So that has definitely been something that, even though I still don't love doing it, I know it's for the good of the plant. So that's why I'm going to look for any very thin stems that might be growing in there, just to remove them, work with the sturdier stems, and then hopefully have enough airflow that powdery mildew doesn't get on any of my zinnias this year. Maybe, probably not. First off, these zinnias here seem like they could potentially be broken because they are growing almost horizontally. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to follow the stem, attempt to follow the stem back. And yes, that one is broken off at the base. So I'm just going to cut that off. And it does look like a couple of these other ones are broken as well. So I'm going to try to zoom you in so you can see what I'm looking at. Right here, I come in, I can tell that this branch, there is half of it that's broken off, so I'm going to pull the whole thing off. This one is the same. I think, well, you know what, this one's really tiny, so I'm just pulling it off anyway, but I think all of the other ones at the bottom look good. Now, if I had, supported all of the branches on this plant, I probably would have avoided that, but that's okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these off as well. I cut instead of pull, because sometimes when I just pull a plant off, it also either breaks a stem I didn't mean to break, or pulls excess of the plant off that I don't want to do either. So I'm just gonna prune these two. And I'm just coming up at the base and snipping those off. And I actually don't even mind, because these are lower branches, so it's not going to make that much of a difference. And again, opening up some airflow. Now I think I want to also trim this one. This is just one that's at the bottom, but also a thinner branch. And now I do have more airflow in there. And while I'm in here, I'm just going to check and see if I notice any powdery mildew yet, which I don't. So that's good. Usually it doesn't come until like late August, early September, but it's been extra hot and humid this year, so I don't know when it's going to come. Hopefully never. Now I'm just going to walk around and basically check if anything looks like it's potentially broken. If there's anything I just want to remove anyway. It looks actually okay. This is a really thin branch, so I'm going to remove that. This one is thin but covered with roots. I might test something with you. The pigeons are watching. Not helping, but watching. Oh, something else I'm going to do, just as I notice it, is weed. Now, I don't have to weed very much because I grow in containers. And usually I plant the containers so densely that even if there are weeds that start to grow, there's a lot of maple trees that think that they are going to grow into full trees in a container. But I will just go ahead and pull them when I see them if they actually manage to grow through the density of the planting. So for example, I get a lot of whatever this grass is. So I'm just gonna go in and pull that out. Do I have to? No, but do I want to? Yes. And there are some areas where it's, a little bit worse than it is right there. But I do a handful of weeding, even though I'm all in containers. And then last thing with the zinnias, I'm just gonna go ahead and harvest some for myself. If there's any that look a little bit too far gone, I'll just deadhead those, but these are cut and come again. So you do want to keep harvesting. It'll cause more branching and you'll get flowers throughout the season. or until powdery mildew kills your plant. So I see one here that actually looks like it's kind of on the way out, but still pretty enough for me to have in my garden. You are pretty, but I don't want to remove you yet. Ooh, you look pretty too. I like how I chose these and grew these, yet I'm so surprised by how beautiful they are. I think I'm gonna take this one so that I can get some branching up there. I'm trying to find anything else that maybe looks like it's gonna be on the way out soon. There's one hiding in here. Sometimes there are flowers hiding in the middle that I don't see. And then they start to die. I think there's another one in the middle there I'm gonna grab. Oh, actually no, because there's a lady beetle on it. So I'm gonna leave that one right where it is. I am done with the zinnia bed for now. I didn't see any disease or pests, so that's really good. These are the flowers that I harvested that seem to be near the end of their life. So I put them in here. I'll bring them inside for a bouquet. These are the long stems that were either broken or that were a little bit thinner, and I wanted to just get them off the plant. However, I am going to keep these because in the past I've had large branches of my zinnia plants break off that I was not ready to part with, and I've put them in water, and just like water propagating any other plant, it formed roots and continued to grow. And in fact, I had some, like that bloom is still opening up. I've had blooms open up fully while they've been in a jar of water. And then there's one in here, I think it's this tiny orange one, that even has a bunch of roots growing on the stem already. I think this might have been resting on the potting mix, but this one should do really well. So I will keep these in a vase of water. I might trim some of them, like the ones that are trying to hit me in the face. And I don't know if I'm gonna put it inside or outside. I've left it outside sometimes on this table. I've put them inside next to a window. So I don't know, we'll see what I feel like doing. But I know that next up on my list is to help guide the Thunbergia onto the roof of a flower cart, because Thunbergia will grow anywhere it can find space. I think it's grown into some of the plants. It's trying to grow underneath the deck. So I just like to help guide it where I actually want it. And this is one of my favorite activities to do in the garden. I don't know why, but I find it the most relaxing and meditative of everything that I do. So we'll go ahead and do that right now. This is also an activity where I need my gloves off because I need to be able to use my fingers. So for example, this branch has kind of gone over one part of the roof and now it's trying to grow into the center. So I'm just going to weave that along through the roof. You look okay. The rest of the ones up here look okay, but now let's see what's growing into the ground. So there's one vine here that's growing down into the Supertunia below it. There's another one, but that's too short to do anything with right now. Let me see if I just tuck it back into the cage and do more twisting around. And I just twist it enough so that it stays and it doesn't come undone. So I know there's a lot more in here. I'm just gonna keep working on this. Here's another one that I'm just going to weave through up here. Feel like, yep, you are growing just directly into the cart. Can you hear the pigeons? They are very into what I'm doing right now. So this one, same thing. And I'm gonna try to find a place where I haven't already woven a bunch through. Now, this one does hold pretty well on the back deck, which you'll see in the tour. The vines aren't holding on to the material of the trellis that I wanted to climb up. So I've been using masking tape, and that's been working pretty well. Here's another one. I'm gonna actually tuck you this way. Now, you don't have to do this. I mean, I actually don't mind it if some of these grow into the dahlia or into the petunias down below, but I do at least want to get the roof a bit more full. And you look like a long one. Oh no, you're just too attached to each other. So we'll wrap this one here. And then let's go under. And then over. Again, I don't know why this is so relaxing to me, but it is, and I could spend hours doing it, but I feel like I should not spend hours just doing this one task. While I was working my way around the zinnias, I did see that there's at least a handful of raspberries on my 2 bushes that are ready to harvest. So I'm going to do that. Slightly related, I have Invisalign, which I got back in September of last year, and that has really prevented me from being able to eat a lot of what's up here before it gets down to the kitchen, which some might say is a problem, some might say is not. But it's funny now because I can't chew on these. Well, raspberries I can kind of eat without chewing them, but because I can't chew on a lot of what I'm harvesting right now, it does make it down to the kitchen. However, I can stop wearing these during the day in about 3 or 4 days. So I'm at the point where now I just get my retainer. Well, I have my retainer in, but I just have to wear it at night, which is nice. And then I can continue eating all of my berries. Oh man, I miss these. They're already starting to rot. I also like that I said I need to wear gloves, and even on this, I'm not. But this is another one where like I just feel like if I wear gloves, I'm more likely to smush a berry or do something that I don't mean to do. That's a handful from plant number 1. A little bit about these raspberry bushes. I know I just did the tour, but I prune these back all the way. I cut all the canes back because that's easy, and I like to do whatever is the easiest. And I don't think I usually have this many berries already, but it has been producing. And this is, again, like the 4th or 5th year. One of these is just 1 year older than the other. And just a few from bush number 2. So that's about how many raspberries I'm getting from the 2 bushes that I have about every 2 days. I do just come up in the morning and grab whatever I see, but it was raining this morning and yesterday morning. I don't know, either way, it's been a couple days since I harvested. So I get enough to eat. Like if I either eat them up here or if I eat them in my cereal in the morning, that's enough for me. But I don't really get enough just from 2 to make jam or preserve it or anything like that. So I mean, I don't mind that, but if that's something that you would want to do, you might want a few more, but they already take up so much space. I almost got rid of the raspberry bushes last year because they were taking up so much space, but I'm very glad I didn't. The next thing I'm going to do now is just cut some of these poppies back. Again, I direct sowed these. Oh, hey, there's a marigold growing there I forgot about. I direct sowed these and then also needed to use the grow bags for my tomatoes and my zinnias. So I'm going to remove just some of the poppies, probably not all of them yet because they are still looking pretty, just so I can give space to the other plants that I want to grow. I think there's a little bit more space now for the other plants to grow. This one I took the most out of with this tomato plant because the pumpkin is kind of blocking some of the sun to the tomato plant. So I think this one's going to be happy with a lot more visibility. There's nothing right now in the center, just the zinnias on the end, but I think I might transplant to get them a bit further apart. And then this one, there is a tomato, but this one is growing happily because it gets more sun since it's not blocked by a giant pumpkin plant. Next up, I'm going to do something with this pumpkin plant. I don't know what, but what I have been doing, because it's so much bigger than I expected, so I have kind of been guiding it this way with some plant cages, and I have also been going in and thinning out some of the leaves in there, especially if the leaves start to turn yellow or brown, just to hopefully make it a bit happier. I do see in here there are some areas where there's a lot of leaves together. And this one actually I think is broken, so I can take that one out anyway. But again, just any place that looks really crowded or the leaves look brown. I mean, this one's I'll take you. And again, checking any of the leaves that I take off for pests. Usually the pest I have the most issue with is the cucumber beetle on my melons, cucumber, zucchini, because they can spread diseases and then the whole plant dies. And when you only have one pumpkin plant and the whole thing dies, that can be a bit sad, but at least so far so good. But again, they don't usually show up until a bit later in the season. I think I've actually found a spot where I'm going to direct sow some of those zinnia seeds. So behind the Tiny Tim tomatoes and between the straw flowers, there's like, I don't know, 6 inches of space. That'll work. So I'm going to direct sow some just between these straw flowers. Before I do that though, I am just going to take a look at the Tiny Tim tomatoes. That one's still being held up by the status that I wrapped around. I should probably do something about that. This is lettuce from the spring. This is also a bed where, because it's not as densely planted yet, I have a lot more of the grassy weeds growing in here. So this is probably where I've been pulling stuff from the most, just because I don't want it to take over since it has a little bit more room in this bed. Hello. So right now I'm just going through and doing a little bit of weeding on the areas where I'm going to sow the zinnias, and the composter is right next to me. I do just toss any parts of the plant that I prune or that I pull into the composter as long as it's not diseased, but this makes it really simple to have it right next to me. These are the 3 varieties I'm going to sow. I'm going to sow the Aurora because someone mentioned that and I was like, I'm pretty sure I bought that and I don't know where it is currently. It might be one of the ones growing in 30-gallon grow bags, I'm not sure. But I'm going to sow 2 different areas with the Aurora, and then I'm just sowing the Queenie Lemon Peach and Queenie Red Lime because it seems like there's fewer of those in the center raised bed. These want to be a 1/4 inch deep. I'm just going to do right in between these straw flowers. This is the Aurora that I'm planting right now. And even though I have irrigation, sometimes it doesn't always reach right where I've sown the seeds. So I will be hand watering this probably for quite a bit until the plants are a bit larger and they can actually get the water from the irrigation. I was going to do 2. No, I'll still do 2. I can fit stuff in here. All right, so hopefully we get some zinnias growing in this bed, and then if the powdery mildew does take out the older ones, I'll have some newer ones here. That was everything I knew I needed to do. So now as the pigeons fly on the deck, I'm just going to literally walk around and see if I notice anything else. I did think I potentially saw some petunia holes, which meant budworms, but now I don't see them, so I must have been hallucinating. Budworms on my petunias. This bed is still a mess, and so much of a mess that I can't tell if there's any issue, but that is fine. You know what I might need to, here, this is a very thickly stemmed dahlia, but I might need to add some supports to that. Pole from an old greenhouse, and I'm just going to put that in carefully because I don't want to hit the tuber. So I'm just going slowly in an area where I don't believe the tuber is. It's good, feels pretty sturdy. My garden necessity twine, wrapping that around, again, kind of the mid to lower part. And then I'm going to tighten as much as I want just to keep it a little more stable. You know what? I should maybe do it around both of these stems, just because I'll probably need to do it to the other one at some point anyway. So that's at least giving it some support. Again, I'm not really moving it too much from its original spot, but at least this way, if there is wind or anything like that, there's going to be a little bit more support on it. Can I help you? Flower? Would you like a flower? No, not into it. Here, oh. But I cut this for you. All right, so I finished my walk around the deck. I don't see anything right now that I have to do, but that's typically how I do the maintenance in my garden. Now, I did want to talk about 2 other things that I do, but I kind of do them separately. One is watering. So this deck, again, is all in irrigation. So it runs before I come out here in the morning. I will just look and make sure that everything has been getting water, that there was no issue with the irrigation. And then if it is a very hot day, which it has been lately, I will come out in the afternoon just to see if I need to hand water a few of the plants. Typically, I don't have to run the irrigation twice, but some of my smaller pots of herbs, some of my vegetables that are in the 7-gallon grow bags do want a little bit of extra water, so I'll go ahead and give that to them, but that's almost like a daily occurrence. And then fertilizing, I do that separately. I do have a whole fertilizer video that I had from last year, so I'll link that down below. I will do another one this year at some point. So those, again, I do a bit differently. The tasks like this, checking for pests, checking for diseases, coming out to read a book and then noticing a bunch of stuff that you have to do and then never actually reading a book. That happens quite often. But I'm going to bring flowers inside, raspberries. I'm also going to bring, I took the pretty stems of the poppies take you off, and I'm going to hang these upside down inside to dry. Every year I create a dried Christmas tree with flowers from that year's garden, and I've never grown poppies in my garden, and I've never dried them. I'm assuming the petals will fall off because they're very delicate, but especially the ends of these little seed pods, I think that is going to look really cool dried. So these are coming inside, everything else is coming inside. Also, I am starting to itch a little bit on my right wrist, right here. Probably should have worn sleeves that went down to where the gloves came on. I started to feel a little bit itchy, I'd say maybe 5 minutes after I was in the pumpkin plant. So I do still think that is the culprit. But anyway, that's gonna be everything for today. I'm gonna go, I guess, give the pigeons some attention. I don't know why they're around me so much right now. They never let me touch them. If I walk towards them, they fly away. But if I'm doing other things in the garden, they will just wander around. Oh, one last thing. Someone said that it would be nice to just see the garden and only hear the sounds of nature. So I'm gonna do that with some clips at the end of this video. If you like that, let me know, and I can maybe like put a video on the weekends, or a couple videos on the weekends of just the garden. But if not, let me know if you just like them thrown at the end here, or let me know if you don't like them at all. But that is now going to be everything. I just felt a raindrop, so I'm gonna go inside, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.